So we've got some updates. I initially recorded this part of the video on the way to the doctor's appointment. You know, have a nice, interesting background to look at while I'm just rambling about stuff. But because we don't really have a good mount for things, it just looks terrible. And there's a bit of no road noise, so I'm redoing it today after I recorded the last half of the video. So mood is down, morale is low. But there's kitties. Right on cue. Onto the table. Come on. Okay, we're just gonna keep going. I was hoping this was gonna be, I don't know, my last update for a while. I was hoping this would be the last update video I made for a bit. It doesn't look like it's working out that way, so we're talking videos, plans, and then doctor stuff. On the video front, the irreversible damage wrap-up epilogue video is the most complex video I've probably ever tried to do. So it's taking some time. It's going to be far more coordination of pieces than I've ever tried. Like, this is probably old hat for somebody like Kaylin Conrad, but for me, it's new. We're struggling with that and chugging along. It's not shelved. It is an active project. I need time. Adding to the time needs are things like just the random things going wrong with me flaring up. Like last Thursday, the dizziness hit something fierce. Like, wake up in the morning and it's just dizzy. Just dizzy. The world is spinning and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, the closest is meclizine to make sure I'm not like terribly nauseous, but otherwise it's just something I have to ride out. And it's bad enough sitting at my desk and like doing head movements while trying to work. No, like, I just am on the couch because laying down makes it worse, and waiting for it to pass. And this was probably the longest lasting one because it is now Wednesday, my dudes. And it's like 75% better. Like, it's still there, but I'm here. I'm trying to get this video done for this Friday. But it's tough, and it's just health problem after health problem with me, and fucking over it anyway. So that is also slowing down the video. Good news is I got to watch the Sandman series on Netflix, which I highly recommend. And I had an interesting idea on it, I think, that I want to share with you guys. And hopefully it's something that'll be relatively easy enough to pull together that I can kind of work on the irreversible damage in the background in that loop, or that video cycle, and also just wait for people to send me things. So that is the plan there. So then the second thing, the bulk of this, is going to be an update on the health stuff, because oversharing is part of my brand. Get your misery tourism passport stamp here. My last health update was tucked into the back half of the behind the scenes video. You know, that wasn't that long ago. What all could have changed since then? At that point, I had just switched GPs to a new one who seemed quite reasonable, put in the referrals to pain management to take over my Percocet prescription, and to the MS specialist that the not so great neurologist wanted to send me to. Right, so referrals are off. Or are they? Briefly here, it took 3 weeks of hunting things down and talking to people and barking up trees in order to get the referral process to happen. The pain management referral went much more smoothly, although it was interesting in booking that appointment. The person emphasized that, like, we will not talk medication at this appointment. Medication will not be discussed. You will not get medication at this appointment. It's like, okay, cool. A little worrying because I need to get medication from them, but whatever. The PA at my doctor's office was able to give me a prescription and a post-dated one to get me to that appointment. So not completely SOL. So both my appointments are in August, and this was back in June. So it was just time to wait. July, like a couple weeks in, I came down with BA5. I'm pretty sure it's BA5. I can't say with 100% certainty because I just don't test positive on things. Thank you, Izzy. I'm like the reverse typhoid Mary. I get the symptoms, I get it, but if like I don't pass it, then yay. But like the symptoms were right, it hit hard, it hit fast. And I was knocked out for a couple days, which is also slowing down getting stupid videos out. So between all of the just accumulated stress and the BA5 and everything else, it kind of feels like my body's just giving up, driving around on empty, and was hoping that I'd get some more gas with these last couple appointments, but it doesn't seem to have worked out that way. Anyways, the pain management appointment was with the pain surgeon, and I was a little worried about how that was going to go because, I've spoken with a pain surgeon before who was of the opinion that they really couldn't do much for me and sent me on to anesthesiology and all of that. So he was terribly nice. He wanted to know the cats' names when they wandered into frame, and he listened, which is a nice change of pace. It was an hour appointment, so hitting the high points. For one, he told me that they don't do pain medication. Like, this pain management clinic does not do opioids, and it doesn't also do benzos. So, yeah, that's encouraging, especially like I told him that my doctor referred me to them in order to continue the pain medication. And he looked annoyed, but like not at me. Just, we don't, it's a blanket. We don't do that. So given your history and everything you've tried and where you're at, I support you continuing this, especially at the dose you're at. It's not a problem. I'll send that in a letter to your doctor. So hopefully she'll continue that for you until we find something that works. That is still up in the air. Another interesting thing is his frontline treatment for this at this point would be to try a nerve block. And I expressed discomfort with that given the history. And so he said, like, he didn't have a full grasp on things. And so he said, like, oh no, we can sedate you if like it's triggering for you or something. It's like, hold on. It's not the needle going into wherever that's the problem. It's the steroid in it that's the problem. Explained how my dad died. He was like very apologetic, especially because I did cry. That like, I had to come up again. He said like, no. Steroids are optional in this, which was interesting to hear because it was always part of the equation at Kaiser. And also, in his opinion, nerve block is diagnostic. Like, sometimes it'll just help somebody, but it lasts 6 to 8 hours. That's it. You might buy a couple hours by adding a steroid, but it's not meant to be a treatment. It's supposed to be a diagnostic thing. So if the nerve block improves pain for that time window, the next step would be nerve ablation. And in that, they are killing the nerve. The Kaiser surgeon was a little on doing this because of my age, and also because in his opinion, it was like 50-50 if it would help me, especially given the chronic component I've got. So this doctor also said that there's like a 50 to 60% chance it would improve things for me, but also fine print, 20%, even if they have an improvement in pain, hate the outcome because the nerve is dead. It's fucked. It's not going to cause you pain anymore, but now you don't have sensation and you also lose strength in that area. So chewing and other things is harder on this side. And all of that sounds horrifying before even feeling it. So I imagine I would be in that 20% camp, and I don't want to end up with a dead nerve first to be able to confirm like, oh yeah, no, this is terrible. Can we undo this? The other option that always mystifies our friends across the pond is ketamine infusion. At this place, it is a 5-day inpatient because they want to monitor people during it, but I can bring my laptop or whatever and work on stuff. Editing is a nightmare on my laptop. Writing is next to a nightmare on my laptop, but I guess it's an option in the future with the consideration of my bipolar. Because, ketamine is being tested as a treatment for like more drug-resistant depression. And unfortunately, I didn't remember or didn't think to talk about my experience on Wellbutrin with the psychiatrist who didn't think I had bipolar. And with that, so you don't have to dig it up in the video, basically, unless you're stealing cars, money, sex work, you don't have bipolar. And I had none of those. So he had me on Wellbutrin and an anxiety medication. Well, what happened on the Wellbutrin is I lost my appetite almost entirely. Like, I was having to eat Twinkies to get to 1,000 calories a day. I could not eat. I wasn't sleeping. I was writing furiously to a point where like my hand was cramping up because it had to be handwritten for some reason. I had these ideas of like a book I was going to write, like, we're going. And it's like, this is scary. And I talked to him about it. He wanted to up the dose. I was like, fuck that. You're not my psychiatrist anymore, even if you're the only one in town. No. So there is a concern that ketamine would throw things out of whack, and I don't want to end up in a manic psychosis in a hospital by myself. Like, also sort of just a little bit out of my mind on ketamine. Like, this sounds horror show. Like, no. It's not all me just shitting on every option they offer. I am signed up for a clinical trial for TMS for pain. TMS is transcranial magnetic stimulation, and it's like this little coiled doodad that you hold near the brain and stuff, and it, through the process of electromagnetic physics, can induce electrical activity in the brain or suppress, inhibit, like whatever. I'm familiar with it. I saw it demonstrated in grad school. We talked about it in the God Helmet video. It's like, I'm familiar with it. I know what the risks are with it. Like, I think in the interview for it, they said that like maybe it would trigger a headache that should resolve in like 6 hours or something. So, so I'm on the list for that. And the cool thing, I guess, there is if it does work for the pain, I would be able to get treatments for free. So that would be cool. It's fucking like forever away from here, but you know, whatever. We put everything else on hold until I talked to the MS doctor to get a better idea of what was going on. Which, you know, fair. The day after that, dizziness hit. I think I mentioned this already in this video. My brain is just mush at this point. And yeah, like it's only sort of feeling better today, like almost a week later. But yeah, it's just between everything, it feels like I can't win. And then it's only made worse by the doctors I'm going to talk about in the next chunk that I recorded already. Like, they were terribly nice, but just the news is hard. Even though it's good news, it's still hard. I've tried recording this a couple times now. Like, I recorded it on the way home, and I've sat down and recorded it a couple times. So let's try again. Maybe this will be the one. Recording it on the way home, I was feeling good about things, and the longer I've sat with it, the less good I'm feeling. So here we are. So in the appointment, there was a main doctor I interacted with who is a part of the lead doctor's team. The exam was by assistant doctor, and then most of the talk was with the lead doctor. Both of them were very nice, and the assistant doctor, like, we're talking about stuff, and I mentioned, like, I've got this, I think it's like 11 pages write-up of the symptoms with full explanations, timelines, treatments we've tried, yeah, just all of it in a thing. And then I had the MRI write-up thingies and all of that. So offered it to her, and unlike the last neurologist who refused to take it from me, she was like, "Oh no, this is good, thank you. Do you mind if I skim through this while we're here and then we can talk about things?" And it's like, "Yes, thank you, please do so, that's great." And so she went through it, got some clarification. I had the most thorough neurological exam I have had, which is cool. Unfortunately, the tremors were, of course, and the shakes and whatever were Michigan J frogging some fierce that day, possibly because my anxiety was absolutely off the chart. She left, looked at the MRIs, talked to the other doctor. He came in, verified a couple things, and good news. It is their opinion that I do not have MS. And fair enough. Like, one of the diagnostic criteria for MS is having multiple scleroses in the brain, like characteristic lesions in certain places that I don't have. The little lesions that were identified may be due to headaches and like migraines. And further clarification, I guess cluster headaches fall under the migraine umbrella, so maybe that's what those are. He repeatedly mentioned that, like, these MRIs, they're clear, they're crisp, we can see exquisite detail on things, and just your brain and your brainstem and your spinal cord are fine. Like, other than those little maybe headache spots, like, things are fine. It's not something happening with the hardware in that way. So then the flip side of that news is it's anybody's guess for what's going on. On the way home, when I recorded the video, I was feeling relief, and then reality set in. MS specialist had a couple suggestions for what it could be, and these were just guesses because he is an MS specialist, so he has an MS hammer, and if it's not MS, like, the hammer's not going to work. Terms that he was just bouncing around were things like central desensitization, noradrenaline sensitivity, increased autonomic sympathetic responsivity or tone. I got home, I looked into the stuff, and maybe I'm just missing something or Google's not helping. I couldn't find anything for central desensitization, just central sensitization. It doesn't seem like a great fit because it, for one, doesn't address the full system I've got going on. Like, my brain still feels like it's on fire, like sunburned. The shakes, the numbness that can happen on one side, like, none of that is captured by this. Because the idea with central sensitization is it's an umbrella thing, a description of a thing that happens for people with pain, where there's some initial insult to like a nerve or whatever, or muscle, where damage happens, possibly in a surgery, possibly in trauma. So what ends up happening through no fault of the person's own is, in a positive feedback loop cycle, the pain increases. They inadvertently reinforce their system that in a way that makes the pain worse. And it seems like there is fear involved in this, where the person is afraid of the pain. And I mean, I could be wrong on this, but that ends up inadvertently amplifying the pain and makes recovery worse. The problem is, like I said, it doesn't capture everything else that's going on with me. And also, what kicked this off? There isn't like a trauma incident, or like I don't get hit in the head. I've never been in a car accident. Okay, maybe it was the wisdom tooth extraction, but then why was like headphones and sunglasses and other stuff seeming like they were doing the build-up trigger to the trigger, just not fully? Like, this started before the wisdom tooth extraction. It doesn't explain it. Like, and Dr. Husband tried to like, well, you know, like, it was just a suggestion. He didn't mean it like necessarily as a diagnosis. And King Kong stomping on the table, which, yeah, fair, but it's also, I don't know if it's going to end up in my chart and something that's going to cause me grief down the road. I mean, it probably would be good to have a doctor who knows this stuff verify, but it doesn't make sense. Thanks, Max. Is that how the video is going to be now? That's how the video is going to be now. So then with the increased tone one, like, again, that doesn't explain why it's only on this side, the pain, and it doesn't explain the full other symptoms. Thank you, Max. No, that's not true on the cable. So not great suggestions from him. So yeah, like, I've honestly been crying because I'm back at square one. We may have eliminated MS as a possibility, although Dr. Husband's pushing to get like a couple follow-up MRIs just to check that damage isn't going to start showing up at some point. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea why I've got the trigeminal neuralgia. Like, the doctor was saying, you don't mistake trigeminal neuralgia, which, yes, thank you. He wanted me to go back under pain management to try to figure out what's wrong with me. And like, I didn't catch what my husband was trying to do in the appointment of trying to get the doctor to point us to like a different neurologist or somebody to continue working on the full situation. I probably would have pushed harder if I knew that's what he was doing, and if I was thinking about it harder. But I didn't. So yeah, just go through pain management, and you know, they'll figure out what's going on. They're a good team. And it's like the pain management front. It's like I'm on the wait list for TMJ or TMS. How is that going to address any of the other stuff. Doing some searching for, like, okay, MS symptoms but not lesions. What is it? For once, I am taking suggestions, although hear me out first. From my Discord, Hannah suggested, was it like neuro-optic myelitis? I'll put it on the screen. Optica myelitis or something. And probably not, because, like, my optic nerves are fine, my brain's fine, I don't get paralysis. Like, it's probably not that. Something like maybe it's fibromyalgia, maybe? Looking at the neuro place, like the broader neuro place of the thing I went to. Their treatment options for fibromyalgia versus exercise, and then I forget the exact order. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy for pain, just, and then maybe medication, but most people find they don't need medication, and it's like, great. Okay, for one, how is that going to fix stuff? If I could will myself out of the fucking shakes and spasms, I would. If I could will myself out of the pain, I would. I've gone through therapy for the pain. Like, I've been up that tree. And also, like, this has been a constant in my life. Like, right now I'm at a valley for activity and exercise and stuff. But it was, other than the shakes showing up, like, it wasn't that much different when I was at a high, like, exercising, spending 8 hours at the gym a week. Strongest I've been in my life. Great cardio. And it was still another long shot. Seems like, okay, maybe it's lupus, but I think that would also show up as inflammation and damage in the brain. Like, it would show up on the MRIs, I'm pretty sure. So it's probably not lupus. Maybe I just have, like, some stupid patchwork thing of trigeminal neuralgia that's somehow not showing up as damage anywhere. Because fuck my life and ever being taken seriously again. And maybe the dexterity shakes are a damaged nerve in my shoulder or something, and the brain sunburn, who the fuck knows? It's just something I can't live with for the rest of my life. And maybe the twitching is just Tourette's that for some reason is only deciding to show up in my late 30s. So I think I said something yesterday about it feeling like my body is just giving up and shutting down. And maybe it is. Like, it's just fuck my life, otherwise not specified disorder. Part of me feels like I just should take what is there and shut up before, I get stuff in the medical record of, this is conversion disorder. It's in my head. So what I need is therapy. Even though I'm with a therapist and, like, recording this before talking to her. Then there's the other thing of us having considered switching to this cluster of things, because that's also who the coordinated care would be through. I'm concerned that doing that will block off, the one treatment that helps me with the pain. Because, like, if pain management has a blanket no opioid policy, neuro has a blanket no pain management or no opioid policy, what if people just aren't telling me that, actually everybody has a blanket no opioid policy? And if we switched and I found that out, the fuck do I do? So yeah, that's where we're at. Gonna try to get this update video out for this Friday and try to dig and find the push, because I'm afraid. I am a YouTuber who's not uploading videos for perfectly valid reasons, but I'm not. And I'm losing patrons. I understand, like, financial situations change. I'm not providing value at the moment. Like, I get it. I can't even look at my subscriber count. So yeah, hopefully the dizziness is receding and I'll be able to sit at my desk and work again. Because I have a fun idea that will hopefully give me some time to try to work on the irreversible damage in the background. And yeah, um, still here, still trucking. Anyways, until next time.